Are you a PA or an NP who would love to work overseas, but you just don't know what opportunities are available to us? Well, you've come to the right place. Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm a PA, and this is my channel, The Medicine Couch. Today, I'm going to be interviewing an NP who is going to tell us about the opportunities to work in the South Pacific. Stay tuned to discover what it's truly like to live and work in paradise.
Hi, my name is Lauren Cabrera. I'm a nurse practitioner living on the U.S. Commonwealth island of Saipan.
Not a place most Americans are probably familiar with. Can you just kind of explain the region, like where it is and like what makes up the Northern Mariana Islands?
So, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, or CNMI, is Saipan is the main populated island with about 45,000 people. And then we also have Rota and Tinian, which are two smaller islands that have like 2 to 3,000 people each. Saipan is the main medical hub for the CNMI. And then Guam is a territory. So that's also part of the US, but it's not part of the CNMI. But it's just a 40-minute flight away. And there's more people there. There's actually two hospitals instead of one. Where are we in general? We are 3 hours from the Philippines, 3 hours from Japan, 3 hours from Korea, 24 hours from the mainland, 8 hours from Hawaii. So if you find us on a map, you have to zoom way into the middle of the ocean and then you will find us. One of the perks of living on Saipan, especially, is the cost of living is quite affordable. So you can have a backyard that's literally the ocean on a typical salary. Yeah, we don't really have traffic here. We don't have a highway. I think the highest you can, the highest speed limit's maybe 40 miles per hour.
Yeah, it sounds like heaven for people like me. I know it's not for everybody, but the reason that I'm talking to you today, though, is because there are opportunities for PAs and NPs to work on Saipan, Rota, Tinian, right? That was the other island, and even Guam too. So tell us first of all a little bit about the healthcare setup on Saipan.
Yeah, so the hospital here, it's not huge, but it's effective. We have 86 beds and 4 ICU beds, a pretty busy ER, and then there's also outpatient clinics in the hospital as well.
Are there specialties on the island?
There's not so many, but we do have some. We don't have cardiothoracic surgery or anything like that, but we do have oncology and ENT.
And if anyone is beyond what you guys can handle there, where do they normally go?
It depends on the patient and where they are from and insurance and all that stuff. I know friends who work in the hospital here who have flown with a really, really sick baby from here to California
Oh, wow.
many times on a just regular United Airlines flight. So, you do what you have to. Sometimes, if you're not super, super sick, you can go to Guam, which is right
Yeah.
next door. But there's also people will choose to go to the Philippines and different countries where medical care is more affordable than the US as well.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
What about the smaller islands like Rota and Tinian? What happens there? They don't have a hospital there, right?
Right. They have kind of like a catch-all clinic. So on Rhoda, for example, they have a couple scheduled appointments every day, but it's also an urgent care and an ER at the same time because, there's not many people there. So you just have it all in one place. And then also, if patients are too sick, they would fly from there to Saipan. And then if they're too sick for Saipan, they move on to another island.
So what are we talking about roughly on Rhoda for population?
There's about 2 to 3,000 people on each of
Okay.
those islands, give or take a bit. So it's very small, very, very small. I was talking to the PA who works on Rhoda, and they said it's really exciting because they get to practice at the top of their license, but also sometimes that's not a great thing too, because you never know what will walk in, and you can have a bunch of slow days and then a really sick person come in.
So for such a small island, people may be wondering, well, what is the opportunities, right? I mean, there's not
Yeah.
like how do you find jobs? But I imagine just because of the location, because it is isolated, do they have a hard time keeping up enough staff? Is that why we're talking today?
Yes, we need staff. And that's a constant thing, it takes a certain type of person to move out here and enjoy it. And we don't really want to bring people out here who are going to hate it. A lot of people will be like, oh, wow, look, it's so beautiful. Let's go. And they move here and they're like, oh my God, I wasn't prepared for this kind of life. Not that it's a bad life, obviously, but it's just different, like if you like certain food, you may not find it. If you like to visit your family every month stateside somewhere, that's not happening. Amazon doesn't have 1 day shipping.
So it's, more isolated, but that also has its good points too. Well, actually, before we get talking about what the good points of living there and some of the more particulars about, electricity and money and all that good stuff, I want to talk a little bit more about the medical positions. So
Oh,
I
sure.
had seen an ad for working on Rhoda and Tinian. So is
Mhm.
that common that you either like work on Rhoda and Tinian or you work on Saipan, or is it a mixture of all of the islands?
It's a mix. So while we would love people to live on Rhoda or Tinian full time, not a lot of people are willing to do that because living on Saipan is an adjustment for many. And then going to an island with just 2,000 people is really an adjustment. We do have a PA stationed full time on Rhoda right now, which is great. And we are recruiting for that right now. It's just hard to find somebody willing to go that isolated.
And that's a PA or NP for that job.
Yep, PA or NP. And then if you work here in the ER, you have mandatory rotations 1 week a month on one of those islands, which I find that to be cool. Like I've done that before to Tinian, and it's nice to mix it up.
If somebody is based in Rhoda, like that PA is, choose to live there,
Mhm.
they're dividing their time then between Rhoda and Tinian.
Actually, they're just on Rhoda. Yeah. So if you live on Saipan, you divide your time between Tinian and Rhoda 1 week a month, depending on the
Okay.
need. But if you're like willing to go super remote and will live on Rhoda, you're on Rhoda. And I don't think we're looking for someone for Tinian right now, but Tinian, it's just like a 5 minute flight from Saipan
Oh, okay.
on a 6 seat airplane, including like the pilot and the co-pilot.
Yeah. Okay.
Usually I get to sit in the co-pilot seat, which is cool.
Oh, fun. That PA that's there on Rhoda right now, are they pretty much it? Like, do they have anybody helping them? Maybe nurses or anything there?
Yeah, there's nurses, and there is a physician there. And they
Oh, okay.
have also access to the ER physician on Saipan because there is some call because there's like not that many people providers
Yeah.
there. Sounds I didn't get the full picture of what the clinic ER everything's physician schedule is like, but from the PA side of things, I know the PA who is there now works call 1 week a month where their schedule is a bit different. They're in clinic for a couple hours in the morning, then they're off for a while, and then they're on call. And sometimes, usually, it's not busy at all. And then
Yeah.
sometimes, of course, it's busy. And that's 1 week a month. And then for Saipan, if you're working here in the ER, you do 2 weeks in Saipan, 1 week on Tinian or Rhoda doing that call schedule, and then you get a week off. Definitely flexibility is key
Yeah.
to surviving here.
So, like right now, like how many positions roughly do you know do they have open?
We definitely need somebody for Rhoda. We had at least 2 open on Saipan, and they might be filled
Okay.
soon, hopefully. We have a pediatrics position.
Do people usually come there and work for a while, maybe like 6 months or a year, and then they leave, and that's why you're always having to get more people?
Something like that. Like we would love somebody to come for 1 or 2 year contract. 2 year is the best ideal. And then you get like moving allowance as well, which is nice. But people are hesitant to commit to working so far away in a place they've never been. So people are usually looking like, can I come for 3 months? Can I come for 6 months?
Right.
And then it's like, okay, well, we need somebody. So it is a long
Yeah.
ways to move. So you might as well stay
Yeah.
a while, in my opinion.
Experience level of somebody that is thinking about applying and coming over there, do they have to have emergency medicine experience, or can they come if they have family practice, or vice versa? What are they usually looking for?
Obviously, we love experienced providers, but we will take people who are new grads and train them if they're committed to staying for a while. Except for like rota or those positions, you would need some experience under your belt because you're kind of more isolated.
So when people come over, what about like housing?
In my experience, at least, there's a lot of great, really cool places for rent. I'll give you different levels of living, I guess. So, like,
Okay.
frugal one bedroom that's like clean and nice could be like $600 or something a month. If you want like a condo that has a pool that's like one or two bedrooms, maybe you're looking at like 1,200 a month. I'm thinking of like one specific place that's right near the hospital. If you want to live, like, I have a 3 bedroom with a detached studio and 3 bathrooms and like the ocean's in my backyard, and that's 1,800 a month. If you want like a palace with the sunset side view and a pool and like 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms, you're probably looking like 2,400 a month.
And so then how do the wages correlate to the US?
If you have no ER experience or limited ER experience, the starting salary is 95,000. If you have at least 4 years of ER experience, it's 120. And the interesting thing is, like, we pay taxes here, but then we get most of it back. You get a good chunk of your taxes rebated, depending on how much you make. Like up to 90% of your taxes you get back,
Oh, wow.
which comes like at a random day, like a year later or 6 months later. You just get this like $10,000 check in the mail, and you're like, oh,
Nice.
okay.
And I imagine there's not a whole lot of things to go be spending your money on either when you're there.
This is true.
Yeah,
Scuba is something people get into a lot. Of course, it's really cheap here though.
yeah,
And then like if you have kids, you spend a lot of money on those, which I have and
yeah.
do. And if you have no kids, you travel a lot and you spend all your money on that.
Yeah,
It's kind of what
that
I've
would be me.
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what about like a car or getting around? Do people
Yeah.
not need a car or what do they do for transportation?
You definitely need a car. A lot of people, I see them being like, oh, I'm just going to walk everywhere. And I'm like, no, you're not. So when I first moved here in 2012, I was one of those people like, I'm not going to get a car. So we got a moped. But turns out it like will randomly downpour here and then stop like multiple times a day. Sometimes it hasn't really rained much lately, but that made moped life tough. So I ended up getting like a junk car with like a spoiler. It was really cool. But, you can there's actually like car dealerships and stuff here, or you
Okay.
can try to get a car from someone who's leaving.
Since you talked about the weather, tell us a little bit about what the weather is like. Does it pretty much
Oh, yeah.
stay the same year round or does it change at all?
It's like one of the most consistent temperature places in the world. Usually around 85 degrees, super humid. And then we have like a rainy season and a not rainy season. And then even when it's rainy season, it's like kind of nice.
And so, what about the infrastructure like utilities? Is electricity reliable? Is there good internet? Is the water drinkable? Those kind of things.
Electricity, it's more expensive than stateside, but we don't have outages.
Okay.
And water, not drinkable. You can either have like a water delivery guy bring you water jugs, like huge jugs, or you can just go get them yourself.
But there is running water and stuff. It's just not potable,
Hmm.
not drinkable, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and you asked about internet also, I think. And internet's
Yeah.
pretty reliable now. It's rare to have an internet outage, and it's quite
Okay.
fast.
And so, what
Usually.
about money? Like, since it's a U.S. Commonwealth, is the U.S. dollar the currency?
Yep, US dollar.
How is the healthcare system set up on Saipan? Like, is there some public insurance, private insurance, a mixture? How does it work?
It's a mixture. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think we do have a good chunk of patients on Medicaid, and also there's like uninsured patients and stuff like that. So it's definitely a mix.
So, because it's a Commonwealth, there's Medicare and Medicaid there, just like there is in the
Mhm.
US and mainland? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And so, when PAs or NPs come to work there, how does the license work? Is it like they just have to be, do they have to be licensed in the US anywhere or?
The PA licensing is done through the medical licensing board, and the NP licensing is done through the nursing board. It's the same requirements as any state.
Okay, so they have their own boards there in Saipan. So you actually get licensed in Saipan.
Yeah, you get a
Ah,
CNMI
okay.
license that covers you for
CNMI,
the
yeah,
whole
the whole.
CNMI. Yeah.
So what is the patient population like? When I've thought about this before, I thought, oh, it's an island. People are going to be healthy and things,
Oh,
and then, yeah. But then I got
oh.
wiser and I learned more about different island populations and stuff. And so what are some of the health concerns or issues that may be
Mhm.
a little bit more pronounced there?
So I'll start by just talking about like the demographics of the islands. Saipan, at least, or I guess the CNMI as a whole, is about 50% Pacific Islander, and there's multiple groups, but the two indigenous groups here are Chamorro and Carolinian. But you also have people from other Pacific islands that probably not a lot of people have heard of, like Palau and Coast Rai and different places. And then the other 50% are typically different Asian countries are represented here. There's a lot of Filipino people, and then people from China, Korea, Japan, everywhere. So with all these different cultural groups comes like very different healthcare practices and self-care practices and things. So we have a lot of diabetes. And I've heard, I don't know if this is true anymore, but I've heard that we have like the highest rate of dialysis patients per capita,
Oh,
which wouldn't be surprising because a lot of these people maybe are predisposed to diabetes and they don't realize the importance of staying on top of things, or they don't have access to care or something, and they have an A1C of 14 forever, and then they have issues. So we have a lot of
right.
that, a lot of things just stemming from chronic diseases.
When you lived there the first time, you went when you were single, right? But now you're married with children, correct? There.
Mhm.
So will you talk about the lifestyle there, both as a single person and then also as raising a family there and what that's like?
It's great. That's part of why we moved back here when we did, is because you can have access to nannies. It's very common to have nannies here, and it's like a fraction of the cost it would be stateside. And our kids go to a Montessori school where they like speak Mandarin half the day and English half the day. And those schools are like 2 grand per kid per month stateside. And here it's like
Yeah.
400 a
Oh,
month or
wow.
something.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So our kids have like just this incredible life. And I am able to do a lot of the stuff I'm passionate about, which you might be able to guess is
Yes,
dogs.
sure.
Yeah, dogs.
Show
This
us.
guy is so feisty this morning. He's teething and he's acting crazy. But yeah, so having a nanny, our nanny, she's incredible, and she takes care of the kids, but she also takes care of like me and my husband and our house and our animals and everything.
Wow.
So if you're like an overwhelmed mom and you're tired of paying, like, I don't know what they pay nannies stateside, but it's probably a lot.
Yeah.
This is the place to come.
Yeah.
And there's such a great community of parents here too. And so like there's just so much cool stuff you can do with your kids. There's triathlons, there's soccer, there's we go to the beach every Sunday, or the hotel pools you can go hang out
Yeah.
at, hiking. It's
Is
awesome.
it a more laid back lifestyle too?
Yeah, it's just very laid back. And I feel like stateside, I don't know because I'm not there, but just from what I see, parenting is getting harder and harder, and you're more and more worried about your kids as school shootings happen everywhere, it seems like, and there's bad influences everywhere. And here it's kind of not like that. It's just peaceful, and the culture is very like, respectful, and that kind of carries through the whole island.
Does it tend to be, do you think, more of an unplugged society, or is it just as bad there with everybody on their phone and on the internet all the time?
Mostly unplugged, I would say, except for like me, because I do a lot of like work on social media. I'm the
Yeah.
exception, which is a bummer. But most people are pretty unplugged, and
Mm.
like our kids, I know like stateside, a lot of kids have an iPad or whatever. Our kids don't.
Right.
They only get TV time like after they brush their teeth before bed for like 30 minutes. They're outside all the time. The weather's beautiful all the time. There's always a kid to play with. Everyone's
Yeah.
close. Everyone's nice. It's just
Yeah.
an easy life.
Yeah, I think it's a lifestyle that a lot of people are looking for. And also that sense of
Yeah,
community. I think right now we're so disjointed that it's probably hard for people
definitely.
to understand what the community is like there.
I'll give an example like on Easter. Felix, my husband, was working. He signed up for a 24-hour shift by accident and he didn't realize it was Easter. I'm like, cool. So it's just me and the kids. Have fun. So I just went to our neighbor's house. They have like four young kids, and our other neighbor has three kids. And we had an Easter egg hunt and a brunch, and all the kids were like crazy together. Then they came home and napped, and then we went to a family thing, Easter egg hunt, food. And it's just like you make your own family here. I have actual like family here because my husband, but you
Yeah.
make your own family here too with the other people who are in your situation. And it's really cool.
I wanted to bring that up because I think sometimes people might watch this and think, "Oh, I have kids and a family. I
Hmm.
can't go do something like that." But it is
Totally.
definitely doable, and it may be the end up being the best thing for your family. But there are
Definitely.
challenges with that. I mean, like if they can live on one income, great. But what if people come and they come as a family and like one person is the provider? Are there any
Mhm.
kind of other jobs or opportunities there? And do people have to have a visa? I didn't ask that earlier to
Oh, good
work there.
question. No visa is needed for Americans because we're America. So
Right.
that's great. Other jobs. So like myself, I am a nurse practitioner. I founded a veterinary clinic because we don't have a vet. And so I use my nurse practitioner skills to help animals. So that's a little different, but there's opportunities like that. There's opportunities to get involved with different nonprofits if you have a background in conservation, wildlife. There's a lot of that here. There's a lot of biologists, marine biology, but then there's also teaching, obviously, different healthcare specialties. Sometimes we get like a couple where one of the people is a nurse and they can work, but you don't, as a nurse, you don't make quite what you would make stateside. But there are job opportunities. There's also, like work remotely. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do a lot of remote work out here, like on my patio, and that's pretty nice. Can't
Yeah.
complain
Yeah.
about that.
Especially if you have
Yeah.
great internet, so
Mhm.
it's easy, good to
Yeah,
do that. Yeah.
exactly.
So what do you think are some of the hardest challenges of living there, or have we already covered them?
From the kid standpoint, I was going to bring that up actually. You know, my parents are in New Hampshire, so my kids don't get to see their family there as much. We have family here, but not there. Or like it's hard to load up toddlers and fly like 26 hours with them. So I would say that is probably the main challenge, but I personally value like quality of time with my stateside family over quantity. And I find that our relationship has actually gotten a lot stronger and we spend more like valuable time together instead of seeing each other like every day and getting sick of each other.
Yeah.
So so it's good and it's bad. So that's one challenge. Another challenge is that things are just different. Things are slower here. The processes for things don't always make sense. And you'll be like, if they just did it this way, this would have been done weeks ago. Yeah, but that's not how it's done. So
Yeah.
sorry. Like we do things
Yeah.
the hard way sometimes. And I'm talking about like, different like getting your internet or your electricity set up or something. It can just be like, oh my God, I have to go to this place and this place and this place and then go back to the first place to bring a receipt. But if that's all I have to complain about, then
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I'm so adapted to that, like, with the inconveniences too. And then like I love like plain yogurt. And sometimes we just don't have it. Or there's
Oh,
actually a Facebook group called like What Saipan Store Has It? Because the stores are inconsistent and they're not always stocked. And so,
right.
you know, yeah. So that's always like an inconvenience, but
Yeah. Every
it's
place,
nice
yeah,
too.
yeah. Every
Yeah.
place has its trade-off. I mean, I would
It's all right.
go without my favorite food if I didn't have to. sit in traffic every day to go to work
Yeah,
and be in a place that all you see is concrete all day long, instead of hearing the
exactly.
beautiful ocean and the beach.
Yeah, so we have gorgeous beaches. And like on a Sunday you would think the beach is going to be packed, right? No. Like I go to this one beach every weekend with my kids and it's literally empty. We are the only people there half the time, and the other half of the time there's like one family. So it's like whenever I visit stateside and like a family or friend is like, let's go to the beach. And sometimes I forget and I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, we have to park like way over there and like lug our stuff. And there's like a million people and this is like crazy. Why would we do this? I
Right.
just gonna go to the beach at home, back home where like there's nobody. It's
Yeah.
beautiful and it's flat, like the beachy side, there's like a rocky rough side, which is what I
Right.
look at. The beachy side is the sunset side, and that is like glass usually. And so
Oh,
really great for
nice.
paddle boarding and
Is
no,
there
yeah.
surfing there, or do they not get enough waves for surfing?
Eh, no, we don't really get much
Yeah.
waves. People do
Okay.
windsurfing. So for those who are younger, not at the part of their life where they are having a family or they're older and they don't have a family and they're just living like a more free life than those with kids, they travel a lot. Especially if you get like if you're doing the ER job, you get a week off every month and then you get 5 weeks off a year. So
Mm.
you can do a lot with that. When I was working on Guam as a hospitalist, my schedule was 2 on, 2 off. Plus, I had PTO, and I would spend like a month at a time in Bali, and that was just my favorite place, and I would keep going back there all the time.
Yeah.
So you can go see all over Southeast Asia. It's so cheap to travel there. There's so many amazing places. There is some nightlife. It's like quirky and small and very entertaining. I find it to be very entertaining. Karaoke is very popular here. And then there's like, Ultimate Frisbee Club and there's like a very unique running club that you will hear about if you move here probably. And there's also like I personally like free diving. There's also people who like scuba and you can spend a lot of time in the water. So if
Yeah.
you're like a water person, obviously it's so easy here. You can go scuba and free diving from shore, which is like so nice.
Nice. Okay, so we've mostly been talking about Saipan and then Rhoda and Tinian, the Northern Mariana Islands. But you said Guam is very close, and Guam is a
Mhm.
U.S. territory. So I assume some of those same things would apply as far as no visa to work there, and
Mhm.
do they use the U.S. dollar there as well?
Mhm.
So can you tell us a little bit about maybe in general some of the opportunities on Guam or anything you want to tell us about working on Guam?
So I lived on Guam for a couple years and worked there as a hospitalist. It's definitely more built up than here. So coming from here to Guam, I'm like, oh my God, it's so busy here. But going from the mainland to Guam, you're probably like, wow, it's like so laid back here.
Right.
So different perspectives on it, and I'll try to speak to it from more of like the mainland perspective. But there's two military bases there. So the
Okay.
population, there's more people from the mainland living there and there's more like restaurants and hiking. It's bigger. The population I think is around 150,000 people.
Okay.
It is more expensive to live there. The salary, I don't know what it is these days actually, but I would assume it's a little bit more. That being said, you don't get the tax break, so
Mm,
yeah. But, if you are needing to live somewhere with more opportunities for a spouse, or you're nervous about living on a smaller island and you want to live somewhere that has like a little more like things to do, or, it's a little easier to hop from Guam to different places in Southeast
yeah.
Asia and stuff as well. I am
Yeah.
biased. I love Saipan. I love Guam too. Like so I lived on Guam when I was single and that
Yeah.
was fun. There's more nightlife. And then, scuba and free diving is really cool there because there's a lot of stuff from World War
Yeah.
II. And so there's some really unique dive sites.
Yeah.
So even if you live here, you can go over and do that. Here we've got like a plane, and we have a few tanks that are sticking out of the water that you can swim out to and jump off of. Yeah, the
Yeah.
history out in this part of the world is wild.
So if you have a specialty, like say you work in orthopedics or something like that, then you're probably going to have a better chance of finding a position on Guam for that.
It's possible. I think it depends. Like just thinking about the orthopedics in the hospital, it's just one surgeon. Well, maybe there's two now, but I haven't seen them with a PA or a nurse practitioner.
Oh, okay.
So it
Yeah.
really depends, I think, on your specialty and the situation. I know oncology, they're looking often on both islands, actually, like Guam and Saipan. I would say if anybody is curious, they are welcome to reach out. And even if nothing's posted or there's nothing that I know about, I can still like text the people in the hospital and be like, "Do you
Yeah.
want them?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like you just aren't recruiting for something or looking for something because you're like, is it even out there? But if
Right.
somebody falls in your lap, maybe you're like, oh, we could
Yeah.
use this.
So if somebody is watching this and they're interested, tell us
Mhm.
how they can contact you and why they should contact you because we didn't say that at the beginning.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you're actually helping with recruiting, right?
Yeah, I was going to work as a nurse practitioner here, but my life had been slowly shifting more towards the animal welfare side of things. And now I'm actually going to vet school in the fall. But I do have experience with recruiting, and so I'm helping the hospital out with that. If you have a question or you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to me via email or on Instagram at Island Med Jobs. I also made a ebook that you can download. It's like almost 20 pages and it explains a lot of what people are wanting to know.
Perfect.
And we really look for somebody, like I'm really looking for somebody who would love it here. And so I'm going to be
Yeah.
like honest with you about everything because
Yeah.
I'm not just like trying to fill a spot. Like these are my
Yeah.
friends at the hospital, my husband works
Right.
there. So like we want somebody who's going to be a good fit in our community.
If you want to learn about all kinds of other opportunities for PAs and NPs to live and work abroad, then check out this playlist here. Thanks for joining me. And as always, take care, stay sane, and I'll see you next time on the Medicine Couch. Bye.